This is my Nikon FE2, and this is my Canon AE1. Now, this Canon AE1 was my dad's camera, and I got it fully refurbished. It came with a 51.8 and a 28-2.8 smaller lenses. Similarly, I picked up this Nikon FE2 over at the local camera shop, and I bought it with the 51.8 E lens because I like this style, this design. And what is this style and what is this design? What does this have in common? Besides the fact that they're this retro thing, which is real popular and people are kind of into, and it's kind of a vibe, which, by the way, I will admit, I do like that look. I like cameras that have an aesthetic to them. I don't like the modern kind of boring cameras that are being put out today by a lot of the Nikon, Sony, Canon stuff. But in saying that, what I really like about these two particular cameras, and one similar to it, is I like the overall size and dimension of it. So this size is great for me. I like the fact that it's a metal top plate. This FE2 has a brass top plate. And I like the fact that the lenses that they give out as kit lenses back then were fast aperture, nice standard focal lengths, typically a 35 or a 50, sometimes a 40, pancake lenses. A lot of the lenses that came with these cameras as kit was a 51.8, which was just a perfect focal length, great aperture, great overall package. And I just love hanging on to this. It doesn't feel big and bulky, but it doesn't feel too small. And I've always liked that. And so for me, I am attracted to cameras like this, but so far, very few cameras have done a good job of combining the metal build, the size, the aesthetic, the lens sizes, and offering the capability and functionality you need in a good way. Now, there have been a couple really good ones. I would say Fuji with their X Pro cameras. I've always been attracted to them. That's a great option. The XT series cameras are pretty good, although they've gotten a little bit bigger as of late. The XT5, I guess, is a move back towards a little bit smaller, but like the XT4 is a little bigger. But Fuji certainly has accomplished some of that. And then there's the Nikon ZF. The Nikon ZF, you guys know my feelings on that, but for my tastes, having the Nikon FE2 here as a reference point, the Nikon ZF is just a little bit too big, and it doesn't have the lenses with it to kind of match the overall aesthetic. Like they have the 26 pancake, the 28-2.8, and the 40 f2. After that, you're kind of into the big, bulky, plasticky, boring cameras that I was talking about. And so that's my problem with that particular camera and setup. I'm telling you all this because on my journey of reduced gas this year, there were a few earmarked cameras that I was really interested in understanding or looking into that could cause me, like, I would get like kind of a hall pass, if you will. And the OM-3 was one of them. I didn't know it was going to be called the OM-3, but there was a lot of rumors around Olympus releasing a modern Pen F2. Now, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really believe it was going to happen because OM Systems, I feel like they are just recycling stuff, and I just don't feel like there's a lot of investment there. But I was kind of wrong, and I was kind of right. And so this is a talking head video, as have been most of my recent videos. I want to give you my initial thoughts on the OM-3, what my knee-jerk negative reaction, and then kind of my interest in it. So this video is about. All right, let's start by talking about the initial knee-jerk reaction to the OM-3. And I'll go about the things that I thought were just instant no's for me. And I've kind of changed my mind a little bit, but instant no's. First of all, the camera, the OM-3 itself, was not the Pen F2. It's what I was expecting. The Pen F2 is smaller than something like this Canon AE1, which is kind of in the same ballpark-ish as what the OM-3 is. And so I looked at it and I said, that's a smaller camera still, but it's not necessarily as small as I was hoping. So that was my first knee-jerk reaction. The second one was the overall price point. It's being talked about a lot, but $2,000 puts you in some thin air to compete against. And I'm not sure if you look at it from a value perspective, it makes a lot of sense. $2,000 for a Micro Four Thirds camera. Well, the Nikon ZF, back to my earlier comments, is currently on sale for $200 less than that, and that's full frame. You can get a Fuji X-T5, another retro-inspired camera, for $300 less. I think that's $1,600 or $1,699. So my thought was this camera should have been $1,300, not $2,000. And then you're competing with other things such as like the Fuji X-100, which you can't find. So I thought that'd be kind of the market share that Olympus could bite off, or OM Systems could bite off here. So I thought to myself, this is not a good value camera. The third thing is the EVF. If you look at it, it looks like it's the EVF, and I kind of confirm with the magnification and such, but it looks like the EVF off of an OM-5, which is off an EM5 Mark III. It just, 2.36 million dots, I think it is. I don't know. For $2,000, if you're going to go after a premium type of camera, that's definitely disappointing. The fourth thing was, and this is kind of expected, so don't roast me in the comments for this, but with it having a design language similar to these older film cameras, which I'm really into, or more specifically, let's get this FE2, there's not much purchase here, right? And so if you think about putting bigger lenses on these cameras, it becomes a ergonomics kind of issue. And they didn't release a grip with it or anything, so I'm guessing third parties have to take care of it. But my first thought was like their design was great for smaller lenses, kind of like pancake lenses you see on these cameras, but probably not as great for anything bigger. You want to throw a telephoto wildlife lens on there, whatever. I guess that's probably less of a concern because back in these days, big lenses went on these too. But that was kind of my knee-jerk reaction. The last one is single card slot for $2,000. Again, I probably wouldn't care. I don't care about 2 card slots so much for me, but when you're in the $2,000 price range, I feel like 2 card slots might be a good idea. And I feel like given the overall size of the camera and where they have the card slots located on the side, I felt like they could have done that. And so at first I was like, no. This is an OM-1 Mark II guts jammed into a retro-styled body with a old EVF, and they took the Pen F color wheel and put it on there. No, I was not. I was like, knee-jerk reaction was no. And that was my initial thought. But I had some time to think about it. And I'm going to give you a different perspective. And why I'm actually considering it. Because I think on paper, or from a checklist perspective, it checks a lot of the boxes. So let's talk about the good part of it. First of all, it matches the design aesthetic of the cameras I like to look at, candidly, hold, and I don't use these as much because they're film, but if it was digital, use the most. Because I like the way this looks. It's small, or it's small-ish, it's got a good look to it, pancake lenses on it. It's got a premium build, and it's got a very attractive look, in my opinion. So that's great. That's great in itself. It checks that box. The second part is being micro four thirds itself. Small lenses are in its DNA. So they re-released the 17-1.8. Now it's metal. Good. I think the 17-1.8 originally was metal, but the 25-8 got re-released, and now that is metal, and it's weather sealed. They're both weather sealed now. So that's really, really good. Of course, there's always still like the Panasonic Leica 15-1.7. You can throw on there the 45-1.8. The 75 1.8 is a little bit bigger. Sigma has lenses, a ton of good, fast, optically excellent lenses available for micro four thirds that are small and keep within the design aesthetic that I talked about in the beginning of this video. And so from that perspective, micro four thirds, probably more than any other system, offers the small lens options that I like. Fuji's probably second. And so that's also really interesting. Third, they put this body they made this body weather sealed. Awesome. I mean, I don't typically take advantage of weather sealing too much, but I do go skiing and stuff with my kids. We go on vacation. I do get the camera smashed into snow. That happens. Weather sealing is important to me. In my past, I've definitely taken my Olympus cameras and rinsed them off under the tap. And is it necessary? Not for me, but it's nice to have. And for some professionals, it definitely is. So that's really cool. It's got great IBIS. It's got a flip screen, so I can do video with it. That's awesome. It does have a viewfinder, unlike this XM5 that I'm recording on right now. So that's all really good stuff. It's got the bigger battery out of the OM-1 Mark II. And it's got all the technological advantages of the OM-1 Mark II. The best sensor, I guess, they have available today, the computational photography, the processor, all of that. And so the camera really is a flagship in a retro body. But then you add on top the color wheel from the Pen F, that's very interesting to me as well, because I'm really into the straight out of camera lifestyle right now. This Fuji, I've been shooting straight out of camera now for months. I haven't edited a photo in forever, and I don't miss it one bit, I'll be honest with you. I saw some of the JPEGs that were posted in some of these reviewers' videos. I'll give you 3 to go look up after this, and you'll see what I'm talking about. One was Chris Howe. He's typically a Sony guy, I believe. He's from like the Peter McKinnon clan of people, or he was in the day. He had it, great straight out of camera JPEGs. Another one's Teo Crawford. Teo Crawford has put a review out. He typically shoots on the GX85 and does like, just random street photography stuff. Very nice, soft voice. He has some great JPEGs that came out of it. And then last but not least, Dave Herring. Dave Herring, of all people, who is a Sony and a Leica shooter, he had some great JPEGs out of it. And I thought I saw something called like positive chrome film simulation. And I was like, oh my gosh, it looks gorgeous. And so it fulfills that straight out of camera, check the box for me. And so when you ask me personally, a failing recovering gasaholic, of all the things I want, that camera nails all of them, with exception to the sensor, because if I'm going to have it my way, let's give myself a full frame or medium format sensor. I know it's not realistic with the other requirements that I have, but let's do that. And then the EVF, a little bit of a concern. I think I can work around that. And the third one is it's not probably truly pocketable. This XM5 is definitely smaller. I think based on some of the stats I looked at, the OM-3 is more on the X100V, VI, 6, whatever you call it, Fuji size. And so still pocketable with the right lens, but a little bit bigger than like something like this XM5, which is a very small camera. And so from that perspective, I looked at it and said, this would be great. It has good autofocus, has all the professional things I need. Maybe this is the camera for me. And that's why the OM-3 is currently sitting in my cart. But again, the $2,000 price tag. And I'm getting all the same or similar things out of Fuji for the most part. And so it's hard for me to go justify spending $2,000 and kind of restarting my lens collection, if you will, on a Micro Four Thirds system just for this one camera. And that's kind of my overall thought. And I also know that down the road when I get that camera, I'll say, yeah, but for like $300 or less, I could have got this camera or that camera or whatever camera. But in saying that, that OM-3 does check a lot of the boxes. I don't care if it's recycled OM-1 Mark II internally. The OM-1 Mark II is a good camera. It's a good sensor. They got good colors, good controls. The computational photography can be interesting in the right situation. And it's able to do the video and other things that I need. So it really does kind of check all the boxes. And so from that perspective, it's really interesting. If you made it this far, guys, this is another talking head video, but this is what I'm really after. I really want something like this in full frame format, and it's similar size and weight. No, it's not the ZF. The ZF's much heavier and bigger and doesn't have the lenses to support what I want. And this OM-3 is probably the closest thing to it, right up along there with a Fuji X Pro and Fuji X-T cameras. It's very interesting. What's your guys' thoughts? Let me know. And then I'm also going to talk to you about this camera right here, the Fuji X-M5. I've got some really, really good positive things to say about it and a couple really annoying things to say about it. But overall, it's meeting the needs. And by the way, this is being filmed on the crappy 15 to 45 Power Zoom XC kit lens that comes with it. Doesn't look bad. And the autofocus is like, it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. Autofocus testing all the time. All the time. All right. Thanks for watching another Talking Head video. I'll see you guys in the next one. OM-3, let me know in the comment section below. Should I do it? Or stick with the Fuji and hold to my guns? Like I said I was going to. Let me know.